People in Boston will have a chance to cast a vote for creative initiatives in 3 neighborhoods. This will take place April 25th at the Bowling Building near W Square in Roxbury. The event's called Bread and Soup. You can chip in for a meal, but also decide on a project benefiting Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. To tell us how it works are 2 guests from Boston's Racial and Economic Activated Dialogue, BREAD, BREAD, the Chief of Possibility, Leora Rifkin, and the Chief of Brand Strategy and Digital Marketing, Justin Springer. Thank you both for much being with us.
Thank you so much.
I want to start with Leora. Talk about what's the whole mission around. This sounds like more than just bread. This is like the whole sandwich we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So we focus on mission questions. So one of our mission questions is, what if we focus on the strength of the whole to catalyze social change? So we really focus on our community strengths, our audience member strengths, as a way to create change in our neighborhoods and the country. And Justin might want to add on to that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing with our program is building a village. And with my personal experience as an entrepreneur, I was fortunate to be a part of a program that Future Boston launched called the Accelerator Program. But after that program ended, it was a lonely road as an entrepreneur. And I think the great value with Bread is we wanted to focus on a lot of the creatives in our city of Roxbury, Mattapan, Hyde Park, Dorchester, and beyond, JP, to have access to resources and tools to build up their business or to build their creative ventures, but at the same time provide fellowship and provide a community. So when I say village, we don't want people to be lonely. I don't want people to go some of the road that I went down, where I felt like I'm doing things wrong, or I felt like, hopeless, and I think being on the outside, sometimes I can appreciate, being on the inside, I step out and I can really appreciate just watching people connect. And I think we lived in the city for so long, the history of Boston, it's been a segregated city. It's been very segregated with entrepreneurs and creatives. And I think we need to have a collective, a pipeline of collectives working together. I can have a marketing company, Leora can have a marketing company, but how do we partner together to build our companies? And there's a lot more to it, but that's the essence.
And I think just to add on to what Justin's saying, we're not solely focused only on entrepreneurs or creatives. It's we mostly focus on millennials, although we have a lot of outliers that come in as well. But we're focused more on purpose. So anybody, millennials I think are especially our target, just because that's my generation and Justin's pretty close. But also because we have a different way of doing business, and that even if folks don't want to be an entrepreneur, they might want more of a purpose-driven lifestyle. And that's really the audience that comes to our events. And so I think that the concept we're going to talk about today fits in with that.
Well, one of the things you're going to have for this event, even before the 25th, is going to have some artists with projects that people coming the 25th can learn about. So talk about, that's your first deadline with the artists, I guess, right?
So artists, creatives, anybody really who has an idea for a project in that impacts Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan can apply. So we've had folks who want to run fitness classes during the summer apply in order to get a little bit of funding to implement their project idea. So we really encourage anybody who has an idea that they see as a positive, something positive to positively impact the community that they want to put on, to apply.
Okay. Justin, what about some other possibilities out here as far as things that people can do and that should go over well with the audience on the 25th?
As far as possibilities, I think the number one thing is knowing that you have possibility. Sometimes we interact with certain folks in the community that come to our events and they feel a little bit more confident in their work. So I think it's always, Leora and I were talking, when you're talking about the new event, which is Soup, we were joking around because in Detroit, they've crowdfunded over
$100,000 since 2015.
So, and then she was like, can we do that in Boston? And I said, anything is possible. And that's what Bread is about, is making our community know that your idea just needs a push. It needs a GPS. Not to say we're the ones that provide it, but we bring in different resources. And we learn at each event as well, because we're trying to grow as well. But So when we bring in the Bononis and we bring in the Morgan, the Brons, we're bringing in millennials of influence that are telling their stories. We all go through a dark road in building creative or being in a professional setting. And we want people to know that it's for a reason. So there's always possibility. We just kind of stay on track. And I think we provide that GPS through our events. And this new event's kind of new, so Leora will share a little bit more on that. But I think if I answered your question, when talking about the possibilities, is really just making sure that they know that anything is possible.
And I can just add on to that. So if folks have ideas about maybe some urban agriculture, that they want to start a community garden this summer, that's something that they could apply for with their idea. I mean, it's really any idea. No idea is off the table. They can apply with any idea. But if they have something that they see, maybe it's a facet of their business that they just need a little bit of money for, that would allow them to then, maybe hire somebody else. So it's more sustainable. So we also want to focus on ideas that are sustainable for the community. So then once the money runs out from this end, that they can start to generate more either revenue or apply for another grant that would be much bigger than what they would get at the dinner.
This is BNN News. We're talking with Leora, Rifkin, and Justin Springer and Bread and Soup in Roxbury. Justin, you work with some students at the Jeremiah Burke High School recently, and you're dealing with young people in the neighborhoods who might have something to offer. Talk about how a program like this could meet their needs.
Yeah, I think one of our focuses, me and Leora talk about this all the time, is how do we make it not just for millennials, but the next generation that's coming up as well. I think it's important, and when you come to a Bread event, I mean, it's not just millennials. You may find folks that could be our grandmother, and it's figuring out how do we. I feel like a lot of times our youth feel like they're not being heard, and I think it's important for them to know that they're invited to an event, and we want their input, and we want them to have an opportunity that we didn't have when we were 17 or 18 or 16 or 15, to be around adults that are creating and brainstorming, and they need to see that. So we're trying to, hopefully this interview will help us put more visibility of what we're trying to do to invite more youth, but that's been a big focus. And I think one of the reasons why I came back to the Burke, and you did an amazing story on a program we did a few years ago at the Burke around
the mural for Dawn of Summer
mural.
Yes. Right.
And I felt like one of the reasons why I wanted to come back is to be able to have that connection, to be able to invite, our young folks to, not just Bread events, but there's a lot of great events that are around that they should be invited to. So that's kind of like the pipeline that we want to create with our youth, making sure that they're invited and making sure that they can maybe pick up some new mentors at the same time. But we're working on a more strategized plan to really, maybe we do events for youth. I mean, we're kind of still in like the, what would you say?
Startup mode.
Startup mode. So anything is possible, which has kind of been the theme of what we've been talking about. So that's definitely on the top of our list, because 10 years from now, we want that next generation to maybe run Bread. I mean, we may be on doing other things, but to have sustainability, we got to be able to have that connection, that pipeline.
Leora, finally, if anybody wants to follow up, first, as an artist, innovator, meeting that deadline, and for people who just want to come have a meal and look things over and make a decision, talk about what they have to do.
So sure. So you can go to our website, makebreadboston.com, and you can find information there on how to apply. The application is extremely straightforward. There's about 4 questions, and that's due tomorrow, Tuesday, April 11th. And then for folks who want to come, if they donate the $10, you get bread, soup, salad, and a vote. So 100% of the money that we're raising goes directly into the idea. So you get to come, have dinner, meet other folks. We're going to have an artist from the community there, and they'll get to decide which idea they want to see in the community. So it's a really great idea, and we're excited. It started in Detroit, and we're just excited to bring it out here and see how people respond.
Thank you both very much, Leora, Rifkin, and Justin Springer.
Thank you so much.
From Bread.